Hello, Ontario Landlords Watch members and YouTube and on my personal page. I have Heidi with me tonight. It's been a crazy couple of weeks, and I'm so sorry I haven't been very active within the group and getting back to my messages. I do promise I will get back to everyone. I'm not ignoring you. Moving a house with 4 kids and all the furniture that's with it is pretty crazy. I don't know why people want to move. I'm done. I'm in my forever home. But it's not that easy right now for me to say that I'm in my forever home because we have Heidi who is trying to get into her forever home, the home that used to be her rental, and she's trying to move into it after a divorce. And she's been trying for 2 years to evict a tenant who now owes her $43,000 and over $43,000 because of the water billing arrears that have been added to her property taxes. So we have Heidi on today to kind of explain who she is, because we all have this all landlords are rich and all tenants are poor situation that is happening, but that's not the case. What's happening is that we have a broken Residential and Tenancy Act, we have a broken Landlord and Tenant Board, and even with the changes that are happening with Bill 184 and the rent freeze that is happening with Bill 204, and now we have the changes that are happening at the Landlord and Tenant Board, which we're starting to see more hearings that are happening. But in Heidi's case, they're going to have a date for her on December 7th, but it's not a hearing. It's a mediation to talk about how this tenant is refusing to pay rent and refusing to leave this home. And Heidi has 3 small children. 3 small children trying to move into her home, and she's actually couch surfing at her friend's house because she can't afford to keep paying a mortgage and rent elsewhere. Heidi, tell us how you got into this. Why did you become a landlord? Because people are probably thinking now, why would I want to rent my basement? Why would I want to buy an investment property knowing that I still have to continue paying the mortgage and the utilities and the insurance and the maintenance and the list goes on. Tell us how you got into it.
So, and the problem I got into, it's like based on I told my tenant that I divorced, I don't have a house to live, and then she has to leave, and then she stopped paying the rent.
But when you got into buying this property, because you had 2 houses, and so your ex-husband had got 1 property, and this is the property that you were supposed to move into. When you got into being a landlord, why did you want to get into being a landlord?
I wasn't expecting these things happen. So like I don't have experience like this. So I don't know how the system actually works. That's why I got involved this problem. It's been delayed so long.
Now, when you got into wanting to rent out your home, how did you pick this tenant? What was appealing to you? What did you like about this tenant?
I mean, I as a landlord, I never encounter like any problem with a tenant, and this is a professional tenant. I just kind of have no experience. Before she moved, she like she want to move in the house, and then she already told me that she went to the call, and then she told me that she went to the call because she overpaid the landlord, and I trust her, and then I didn't do any credit check. So now I learned this kind of lesson is very tough. I still cannot get over it. I was mentally emotionally and financially struggling and devastated.
And this is, and people are probably wondering, like, 2 years, what happened? Like, obviously, there's been some errors that were initially on some paperwork that resulted the adjudicator into throwing out the application, even small errors that were on the paperwork. But you actually had paralegals helping you. How many paralegals did you have throughout this situation?
I have 4 paralegals so far. I was so struggling to find the right paralegal to help me. Because my circle of friends doesn't have this kind of experience with the professional tenant. So I really struggling find the right one. And this one right now I have now is kind of professional, and finally I got him. So the problem is like I cannot find the right paralegal to do but my application. So my tenant's paralegal is very professional.
Your tenant's paralegal.
Exactly. Yeah. She know how to
Avoid the eviction.
how to fight, how to use the system, ma'am, to get, to throw out my application.
And do you have a paralegal now?
I do.
So you had four altogether. So you're on your fourth paralegal trying
Exactly. Yeah.
to take out this to kick out this tenant who is not paying rent, and obviously
Yes.
you're trying to take it over for your personal use. And I'd like to jump in here to say that it's an N12. If you're signing affidavits and you can show paperwork that you are legally being separated and you need to move back into this home, why is there a court date? Why do tenants still have the opportunity to fight something when the property is yours and you needed to move into yours? I'm not quite understanding how this is even a process in the landlord and tenant board and still continuing to be a process, even with the changes that are happening with the unlawful evictions and how they've increased the fees for unlawful evictions towards landlords from 25 to 50,000, and for an residential individual, and then corporation is up to $250,000 now for an unlawful eviction. So it comes down to the point where when we put this video out there and you want to share Heidi's story out there of how she's taking 2 years because she's dealt with paralegals who've let her down. She's dealt with adjudicators that are throwing out applications for very small, minor issues that should be corrected within that hearing process, and still having the tenant having an adjudicator or a paralegal themselves who know all these loopholes, the loopholes that we are really trying to get our elected officials to close, just like they've closed a lot of the landlord loopholes that were not really loopholes. But for the other side of it, there is a lot of system malfunctioning that is causing this abuse. And with COVID, it's making it even worse. So I'd like to, we're going to bring Heidi back to regarding her hearing of mediation that's going to be happening on the 7th. But Heidi, how is this making you feel, knowing that you've been let down from paralegals that you've hired, and knowing that you can't get access to your thing, and you've even put in an emergency application to get your hearing dealt with faster and it's been denied? How many letters, medical letters, have you sent in to the adjudicator or to the landlord and tenant board?
I did send them, like, my family doctor, family doctor no, and then my the other psychiatrist, and also a gynecologist, that one, because I got 3 letters, because of this stress. I was running like 2 months, like in my period, without stopping. So right now I still on medication because I can't sleep. I really cannot sleep. This like is bothering me. I am financially difficult. I borrow so much money and from here and there, try to cover. I don't lose the house.
This is so sad, Heidi. I've interviewed a lot of landlords to tell us their situation, to share their story, and I've never had anyone that gives me the goosebumps of what you're dealing with right now. And I want to be able to do whatever I can from my angle to try to share your story, and I don't know if we can get our friends at CBC and News Talk Toronto, and we need to get City News, everyone on our side to share the landlord story, because this is not about landlords who are abusing their tenants. There's a lot more tenants who are abusing their landlord, and they don't understand that small landlords are going to be the contributor to creating more housing. But when we share stories like this, when they hear about the broken landlord and tenant board, what makes they think that people want to get into this type of business? It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, Heidi, from your experience that you've been dealing with the landlord and tenant board, what would you want to see changed at the landlord and tenant board?
One change, I think it's very unfair system. It's like my tenant took me to the court and application against me that increased the rent without like a proper notice, and then she went back to 3 years rent, 3 years ago rent. And according to the law, it's only they cannot go back there for like after 1 year. And then on top of that, she filed an application. She didn't pay the rent from May and June, and she said she filed the application that she said she paid for it, but her application doesn't get dismissed. My application is not that like a mistake, and then I got dismissed. I think this system is very unfair, you know.
I hear you, and that's the thing that with with Bill 184, and they talked about increases beyond the normal 1.8 or the 2.2%. That if a tenant doesn't dispute it within that year, then it becomes the lawful rent. So that was a good thing that was coming from Bill 184. But in your situation, because it wasn't implemented yet, she was able to get back the money for that portion because you gave an illegal rent increase. Is that correct?
So she said this doesn't give any legal like the property notice increase form, so I had to go back to 3 years.
And what city are you in?
That it's in
Your rental.
the rental. It's in Richmond Hill.
Richmond Hill?
Yeah.
And have you contacted your MPP about the situation?
I did not. I contact the the Markham, because right now I live in Markham. The MPP does help me. She did help me send at least 6 letters to the Landlord and Tenants Board regarding my application.
Okay. And what's that MPP's name?
MPP is Logan.
Okay. And so I would encourage you to reach out to the MPP also in the area of your rental, just because that is in their kind of with their constituents there, to make sure if you can possibly get to help you. Hey, and have you contacted Steve Clark? Have you tried to contact Steve Clark?
No. That's all?
He's the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing.
Oh, no. I haven't contacted him, but I do try to email Darfur. I sent him the message, but I didn't go and respond it.
And how about Doug Downey? Have you contacted Doug Downey yet?
No.
He's not really good at getting back to his messages, but we got to be persistent. So what we're going to do, we're going to get some emails together with you, Heidi. We're going to send your situation. We're going to get it all right up so that you are very clear in your message to the elected officials. We're going to get the MPPs on board. We're going to send it Steve Clark, Parm Gill, as well as Doug Downey. And, if they see this video, I want them to be able to reach out to me so that I can connect them to you. Let's see if they actually want to do that. I know we're far-fetched, but hey, it's Christmas, right? We can always hope and wait for a miracle. But this is where we need to follow Heidi's situation that's happening here, especially through the COVID months, because you can see that she's been trying to take over possession of her own property, and now her property is in question for December 7th, which is going to be a mediation. And this is something new that we all don't really know what's happening, because mediation is more of the concept that the landlord would agree to mediation, the tenant agreed to mediation, and then the case will be discussed in mediation. And if nothing happens about that, then they go into hearing. Now, I like the filtering system with mediation, so you can see, does this really need a hearing? But if a tenant or a landlord still is entitled for a hearing, we're just wasting time. A lot of this stuff should be very much of a streamlined approach. And that's why we're really encouraging our landlord and tenant board to take a look at our recommendations, because what we're recommending is actually going to be something that can make significant changes that will benefit the good landlords and the good tenant. Now, Heidi, tell me this. You have, please tell me yes. Have you reported this tenant to the Landlord Credit Bureau?
I don't have, I just recently did it just a couple weeks ago, because I don't know that I can do that to her. You know what I mean? I don't know how to do that. I thought I have to get the Landlord and Tenants Board eviction order to be able to do that. But I did it a couple weeks ago. I don't know right now whether she received any notice from the the Landlord Credit Bureau or not.
Okay, so you signed up with Landlord Credit Bureau. You put the tenant's name and her birth date in there. Yeah. You were able to report those months of what she currently owes you.
Yeah, I did. I just did it a couple weeks ago.
Perfect. At least we can have this. And this is why I've been advocating for 10 years. I've been banging on doors. I've been having protests. I'm trying to get the solutions that we really need, not just to protect good landlords and good tenants, but it's to protect the taxpayers. And this is why we need to make sure that we have people like Heidi, as well as people like other landlords who have good paying tenants, reporting them to landlord credit bureau so that we know who is abusing the system and who's not. And sometimes our good tenants, they're actually becoming they're getting better. They're getting better at knowing the system. But sometimes our good tenants, they're reaping from the bad ones. So they're going to be being penalized because of these bad tenants out there. And here we could be given a shot, because the credit in itself doesn't mean everything. As much as you need to make sure you're doing your credit checks and you need to see what is going on there. But again, there's so many situations that happen that you want to see the monthly payment history of rent. And this is what's going to be the game changer for the rental housing industry. So I got a few posts here. So she said, Heidi, between the Ontario Landlords Watch, small ownership landlords of Ontario, and Kayla Andrade all backing you. I really hope we can get a resolution for you and some change to the LTP and the RTA. Well said, Jen. I think we have so many great groups out there, guys, that are doing the exact same thing that I've been doing, and it feels amazing to see those groups growing and to help Heidi out and other landlords out there at the same time until we can get these changes happening. And we all are special in our own way. So if you want to get over to the small ownership landlords group as well, so that we can show our support and keep the post going. I know if it looks like we have the same members inside of there, it looks like it's double posting, but we have to share these articles and share these stories that are happening. And we need to be able to help share Heidi's story out there to get some media attention to this, as well as I'm going to be sending it to our elected officials so that they see what this is doing to people like Heidi. You can have a sad tenant story and it's all over the news and they get a lot more airtime than landlords. But Heidi is just trying to have a house for her 3 children. And we're looking at the concept that even for December 7th, if she gets an eviction date, which let's say if it was a standard eviction, but with the mediation, we're not too sure where that's happening from. When is this eviction going to happen? She still has to wait that 11-day standard wait time before she can apply to the sheriff's office. And then she can't apply to the sheriff's office until she actually gets her notification, her stamped copy. But new changes happening with the landlord and tenant board, they're trying to do a digital copy. So this is a way for us to receive our judgments by email, and then we can give it to our sheriff, which is going to be a really good thing. But they better not be taking 20 to 30 days to give us that type of document either, because we're really good on the electronics these days, especially with COVID. So this is about us speeding up this process where RTA is completely not fair, but a lot of our issues right now are with the tenant board. Suzanne, love everything you're doing, Sheila. Thank you. This is a team effort, guys. Like, we have so many people behind the scenes. I'm more of the concept of rattling the cages and continuing because I'm a nagging mom and don't want to say no, take no for an answer. This is a nightmare situation. This is a nightmare situation for every landlord. This is something that it's in your worst nightmares to see what could happen. You always feel like you're under their thumb. We're seeing applications being brought in now through email, letting you know when your telephone or your video conferencing is going to happen, and it comes with a nice little piece of paper now that says, "Hey, tenants, is there any maintenance issues that you want to bring up prior to your hearing?" And in an example, roof is leaking, notify the landlord in September, and I want 15% off of my rent. And this is the type of correspondence that is now being dished out to the tenants. It's like, can I get my bank to not let me pay my mortgage? Because I had a roofie leak, a roof that was leaking, and I needed to deal with it. Come on, guys. So there's lots of changes that still need to go ahead, and we just need to keep working ourselves together, keep supporting each other. Yes, landlords make mistakes, and you see that in the groups all the time. And we have questions that you seem like it's a stupid question, but no question is stupid. We have to be supportive and very helpful for one another, because you can see what Heidi just dealt with. Like, even though we have great paralegals in our group, we know these paralegals that we know have the RTA, the LTV on the back of their hand. Well, not so much anymore because of the changes, but that won't stop them from learning very, very quickly. But Heidi got burnt. Now, Heidi, give me a quick question, or answer here. How much money have you spent in legal fees?
I think I spent more than $10,000 because like she doesn't not only not moving out, she used all the excuse to like charge me, like I saw her like illegal entry and all this stuff, just like to make up the story. So I have to spend money on the lawyer and as well as 4 paralegal, and one of them is like the criminal lawyer, and then as well as 4 paralegal, as well as like 4 times of application fee.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine this nightmare? I was stressed to die.
This is crazy. This is crazy. $10,000 in legal fees alone. And it's not the only person that I've heard from. We've had landlords being charged $3,400 for a simple N4 application. I don't know how. I don't know. It's about the emails that are happening, going back and forth and spending a day or maybe 2 days at the landlord and tenant board. But we got to start either, how come we can't get our legal costs covered? I wonder if your tenants, I doubt your tenant's going to be paying, but is your tenant paying for her legal representation, or is it free and provided to her?
I had no idea. I think the application fee is waived, because every time she took to the landlord to the call, the landlord and tenants both waive their application fee automatically. But for the landlord, it's not. It's it's even increasing right now.
Now, is your tenant working?
They did work. If they don't have money, I do understand. They have a good job. They drive a nice car. I just have a house, but I have nothing. And I went into their house like a few times. They live in a luxury environment. They got 2 very nice car, and then they have treadmill, they have big TV. All their lifestyle, it's very, very high.
Oh, and they're currently working though. They're still currently working.
Yeah, they're
what
working.
Kind of jobs
they make good money.
What kind of jobs?
Her husband is working in technologist and I think it's a technician manager. Oh. And she is a PSW, and then she has a son. It's already got married. Is working. I'm not sure what kind of job he's doing, but it's a huge family.
So this is what you would consider they're professional. It's the ones who are just refusing to move out, refusing to pay, got the money. And it's not even if they didn't have the money. If they didn't have the money, there's government services out there. There's government programs that can help tenants out in the arrears.
Yeah, they have and 2 young kids. It's not that big, maybe 12, 13, and then she still get lots of money from the government.
Especially if they did get laid off. I doubt she would, because being a PSW, it's a very high demand. And I think they're paying for you to go to school to become a PSW now for free, I believe it is. But this goes on to the concept that why is it going this long for an N12 application? This is something that needs to stop, and it needs to stop now, because I think they just know that more landlords are going to want to do N12s because they're sick and tired of it. Even though they have this little idea of this program to encourage more housing, they have the national housing strategy, and they want to encourage landlords to be landlords, but they refuse to listen to the solutions that these landlords are dealing with, because we're the ones with our boots on the ground. We have the hands-on experience. And I can't say that our landlord and tenant board, where the people creating the national housing strategy, actually has the experience into giving proper solutions. This is why we have to do me a favor, guys, tonight, everyone who's watching, call Doug Downey, ask him to meet with Ontario Landlords Watch Council so that we can discuss the solutions. We're not coming with complaints, we're coming with solutions. They'll read it, They'll put it off, but we need to make sure that we're getting our members to call him, to email him. You can CC us in that email as olwlandlords@gmail.com. CC us in that email to Doug Downey, as well as Steve Clark, Perm Gill, and of course, your MPP. Get them involved, because if you can see what's happening now in the world, life is changing a lot, and it's the lockdowns. The lockdowns, if COVID is is as bad as they think it is, what is this massive reset that they're talking about? And I find that before COVID, we had a housing crisis. We had the teachers protesting. We had the hospitals protesting. Sometimes with COVID now, it's like an excuse. Meanwhile, people are capable of paying their rent and still refusing not to pay, and just want to take advantage of the system and play the pity card or the sympathy card. And it's not like that. People need to know that the number one bill that they need to pay for it is the rent. But when it comes down to utilities, the city wants to make sure that they're getting paid. Heidi, I can't thank you enough for coming on. I'm so sorry that you are dealing with this horrible situation. And I want to make sure that all of our landlords are checking Landlord Credit Bureau now, so you know what this payment history is to this type of tenant, and make sure that we can give Heidi all of our tips. So, if she ever wanted to get into it again, which I think she's probably scarred from doing this, but Heidi, if you're ever ready to buy another rental property once you get back on your feet again, it's all about the screening. We got to do our tighter screening, and blame it on the government. This is all about the government's lack of knowledge or lack of interest into helping their investors continuing to be investors and continuing to build. But this is going to be a situation where we're going to talk to you about what happens on the 7th, because this is a very scary time for all these landlords. We're all excited now because these so now that the evictions are now happening again, this is where we need to follow up and make sure that you are getting to your elected officials. I know it seems pointless. They might send you that generic letter to say Bill 184, this is what you did, blah, blah, blah. We have to keep pressuring them to make these changes if they want to save the housing stock of Ontario. If not, we're going to be seeing a lot less supply with the demand. The rents will increase, and we're going to see a lot more people experiencing homelessness, and taxpayers having to pay for that, as well as with the emergency shelters costs. That is going to be happening. But I won't take any more of your time, Heidi. I know how frustrating this is to talk about this. I want you to know that you have, check a look at these comments. This is where we're going to show our support to you, do whatever we can. You have a whole group behind you on this, and we want to be able to do whatever we can to tell our elected officials to give you your house back. And that's what it bottom line is. You want to move in. This is not even about non-payment of rent at times. This is you trying to move into your house, and the tenant is now taking advantage of it. Yeah. Heidi, what do you got to say for us tonight before we log off here tonight?
I now I have come to the conclusion that you have to be very alert and vigilant when it comes to the tenant. So if that if do the credit check or everything as possible to make sure they are a good tenant. If not, just better not to rent. Just it's not worth it. This is like this is not. It's like a lesson that it's a life lesson that I can get it over. It's like influence like me, like mentally, emotionally, everything. I will never forget about this experience in my life. I will not break down. I really try really hard. Sometimes I really know that I will go crazy. I cannot kill it up again. I try to commit suicide at the moment sometimes. Sometimes I will have that thought in my mind. It's really hard.
Heidi, my heart pours for you, hon. I can't. I'm gonna, I gotta.
I so scared my tenant. She's so professional. She used this way living for free in the past. It's like it's a few times living for free for the past. I'm just one of the victim.
So you know of, she's done this to other
Yeah,
landlords?
yeah, she did. She surely told me that she have a group of friends living for free.
Say that again.
She said she have a group of friends that is used this way to live for free.
Oh, so it's a growing group of them now trying to, oh, that's lovely. Oh man,
I
maybe
just
we can get,
innocent, you know.
if we can get her face just like we had Nina Willis' face put out there so everyone can see, what this person's absolutely doing, because this is not right. This is a landlord is a business. We should be treated as such. Just like we have rent relief for the commercial businesses, there was nothing for the landlords to protect them, to protect their families, because we have to make sure that the numbers have to work. They have to balance. This is not a get rich quick. A lot of people think that you just make your money when you sell it, but it's not even cash flowing sometimes for some landlords. It all depends when you bought your rental property. We have Derek, he said that may be true, but at least the place for landlords to refer and avoid renting to those who choose not to pay rent. Those more landlords that use the services, the better it will build a large database. Of course, we have to be putting ourselves into one area, guys. One area to report all your payment history. I don't want to hear, it can take a little bit of time to, put this person's name inside of the database to always make sure that it's current and up to date. You have to go in monthly to put in what is actually owing for that month, unless they're in the collection version of Landlord Credit Bureau. But you have to make sure that we're pulling our efforts and keeping it in one spot. Our members get a discount. You're 15% off. It's from $19.99 a month for the premium membership, but it's free to sign up. It's free to report this landlord to Landlord Credit Bureau, the payment history. But if you want it to go to Equifax, that's when you have your premium account. So take a look at landlordcreditbureau.ca. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm a huge supporter of them because of what I've been doing all these years and knowing how far we've gotten. We've gotten a little bit. You can tell with the changes that are happening, they have listened to a lot of our solutions. They're now just doing a little extra that is making it very complicated. So we're not going to give up continuing to advocate, but we have to stop putting our faith into the government and thinking that the government's going to be there to protect us and make this all better, because in reality they're using small landlords as social services, and they're taking advantage and they're taking away our property rights. And that's why we have to fight, and we have to fight back, because this is something that is not about landlords versus tenants. It shouldn't be that way. It's the landlords fighting the government, and the tenants should be fighting the government, but they like to peg the two of them together so that we're fighting. And even for our new changes at the Landlord and Tenant Board, they make it look like, hey, your water bill, it doesn't have to go to small claims anymore. It could be dealt with the Landlord and Tenant Board. Well, are you going to really help us collect? Can we garnish their wages just based on your judgment? Probably not, but they want to take on that responsibility because it's an extra $200 application fee. We're feeding the giant. So if we cannot feed the giant, but making sure that we're doing the proper screening, making sure that we're getting our good tenants in there. And the only way for us to do that is by making sure that you're putting them inside of Landlord Credit Bureau. Let us know which ones are making their payments on time. But you know what, Heidi? I know how struggling this could be for you. I've heard many stories over the 10 years, and you're the one who I really wanted to bring on tonight to share your story, because my heart aches just hearing what you're going through and knowing that the system has gotten worse. And in the beginning of me doing this, you hear stories here and there, and now you just hear it a lot more. And I just want to let you know that we're here to help you, to be supportive for you. And I don't know how many people can get a link to your hearing on the 7th. I wonder if we can share that link and everyone be there to support you, because that would make an impact. So I'll check in with the Landlord and Tenant Board to see how many people can attend, because normally it was available to the public. Anyone can come and they can attend. So let's follow up with you after the 7th. I will be willing to work with you to get this letter in detail of how the Landlord and Tenant Board has failed you, and we're going to connect you to the Ontario Ombudsman to file a complaint. Have you filed a complaint with them yet?
I did, but there's no responding.
Normally they call back within 2 days. So you put it on.
I filed in the ombudsman, but like a few weeks ago, that there's nobody responding. I sent them email as well. I called them and left a message, but there's nobody reply.
No worries. I'll reach out to my my connection there and see if we can get you connected. I know that they've been really good, a lot better than the elected officials and a lot better than the landlord and tenant board getting back to people. So I'm very surprised that they haven't called you, because normally when you write in your complaint, they'll also call you. So it was kind of good that we've seen that they've been actively investigating the landlord and tenant board since January. And as much as we are hopeful that they will create a report, something that can kind of overthrown what these changes are happening, just to make it a streamlined approach, but we're willing to get you in there. We'll get your letter to the MPPs, Doug Downey, Steve Clark, Perm Gill, even Ford, because Ford, we'll just let him know what's happening. He'll probably just point you over to Steve Clark anyways. I was shocked if that guy actually called me. It's like, hey.
Hopefully. I don't know.
See, at least I'll get you a little bit laughing. I'm gonna get you a little bit laughing tonight. Just know that this is a lesson that we're learning together, but know that she's gonna have a heck of a time now trying to get out to do this to another person. So let's see if we can get your story out there to all of our media outlets as well, because this is something that really does need to be shared. And someone that needs to know how much pain and suffering you're going through, and how much debt you're putting. You're a single mom of 3. Like, how is this considered right, and how can an adjudicator avoid this eviction when it's the inevitable that it's an N12? You want your property back.
That one is fine, even like the last application that was dismissed. But the most frustrating part is that my application is on January, and then I keep sending email them constantly with my MPP's help and also the mental health worker, and then they don't even give me a hearing date. That's the most frustrating part,
Yeah.
about my application. It's like I do it on January because I heard somebody that they apply application on March and April, they get a hearing as September and October. I find my application was on January, and then I haven't got a court date, and it's very, I don't know what was going on.
It's criminal. There should be charges. There's with showing a pattern of abuse from her other landlords, to knowing that they can show proof that they have income, and still avoiding to pay or to vacate the property. This is where we need to kind of put this, what is criminal? Because I guess there's nothing that you can be charged with, even if the tenant abuses the place. Can we get them charged with mischief? But the police officers say it's a landlord and tenant board issue. So we can go in circles talking about what needs to be done. The best thing for us now, guys, on National Housing Day is to message Steve Clark, the Minister of Housing, his assistant, Parm Gill, the Attorney General, Doug Downey, as well as making sure that if you had a delay with the landlord and tenant board, make sure that you're making your complaint with the Ontario Ombudsman, and put all of these people in the same email, and then CC your MPP in this. This is ridiculous. It's getting worse. We need to make sure that we're fighting back and we're not staying quiet about this. I'm going to be able to post the links now, probably on Monday, for you guys, so that you can make sure you have everything. We're going to get these emails, and let's help Heidi out. Let's send the chair of the landlord and tenant board a message, and maybe Heidi, you can share the case number that you have. Or we can put your real name in there so that they know it's you, because we go by Heidi because some people struggle to pronounce your name, but we can put your name out there and ask people to email the chair of the landlord and tenant board and ask them, we need a hearing for Heidi. Hearing for Heidi. That's, I think,
I don't even have a hearing day so far.
Yeah. Hearing for Heidi, guys. Hashtag hearing for Heidi. Let's share this video out there. Let's get to your MPP. Let's fight back, because more is going to be coming down the pipeline as we continue to stay quiet. This is enough, and we've had all of our opportunities to get ourselves out there, to give them a solution. We're not just coming with problems. We have to make sure that we're working together, guys, because this is not right. Heidi deserves better. Heidi deserves justice, and justice delayed is justice denied. We want our justice. I want to thank everyone for watching tonight. Heidi, thank you for doing what you're doing, for coming on here and sharing the story. It does take a lot to come on to a live stream and tell us what's happening and feeling it from your heart. I want to thank everyone for watching. Please share this video. Again, hashtag hearing for Heidi. Let's see what we can do here, guys. Thank you so much. And we'll be on again to talk about the new changes soon that are coming with Landlord and Tenant Board and what they're proposing and what's actually going to be happening December 1st. So stay tuned to that. And I want to thank all of our members for helping out Heidi as well. Thank you. Have a great night, guys. Happy renting.